Hi, and welcome back to the living room where I grow the majority of my orchids. So the wonderful Miss Wanda asked how I change my care and routine during spring and summer. Well, it is spring here in the northern hemisphere. I do a few things differently than I do in the non-growing season, as it is called. I'm going to walk you through those steps. Some of these things you may already do, some of them you may not. Leave in the comments what your spring summer routine is. And let's get started. So one of the first things that I do is I will wipe down all of my orchid leaves, all the creases and the crevices. Thought I'd show you how I prepare that water. So I've taken the liberty of preheating the water, and I let it get hot, and then of course I'll add just a little bit of cool, but I like it more on the warmer side than the cooler side, so that it really wipes them down. Now with Phenopsis and Cattleya, the larger, thicker leaved ones, I like to do it in the daytime because their stomata are closed, meaning the back of the leaf is closed, so it's not going to damage them. I'll show you guys here in just a moment. But what I do, I just take regular old Dawn dish soap, no affiliation. You can use any dish soap you like, and I give it about 2 squeezes. And then I take isopropyl alcohol. I know I said that wrong. You know what I'm talking about. And this happens to be a squirt bottle, and I put a nice helping in. Again, I do this like I cook. I don't measure. And then I will take, kind of swish it all in there together. If you don't smell the alcohol when you're over it, you don't have enough in there. What the alcohol is for is to kill any bugs. And then some people take a microfiber cloth as a whole piece. To me, it's too big and bulky, and I can't really use it the way I want to, so I cut one up into 4 squares, and I will use 1 square per shelf. So let me set you up a little bit different, and I will show you what I'm talking about as far as wiping down my leaves. So we're going to clean off my Bellina wild type here, and I like to clean the leaves after I have watered. So I have just flushed her, and I will start with the outermost leaf so that if anything falls off, I can wipe it off on the bottom. And I just do nice even wipes, especially underneath, so that I am definitely not damaging the stomata, because you don't want to rub too much. On the top part, it's fine to rub. I'm just not a fan of it. And then I got a little bit of water on the stem, so I will wipe that off. And I do wipe off any happy sap that I might see, again, just because I'm not trying to feed anyone that does not belong in my home. So this looks like a brand new leaf. This is her latest one, but it is hardening off. If it was still tender, I would not wipe new leaves. I don't want to dry them out excessively. But with the smaller cloth, I can get up under here without fear of the cloth hanging and pressing down on things that it shouldn't be. Let me catch that leca real quick. But this bud is really coming in. And I will just use my finger like this, and then I like the little cut corners right here, because much like a paper towel, I can really get into the crevice and make sure that anything that might be lurking, I can possibly get to it. So just finish wiping this off. And what I really love after I wipe these off, that's the only drawback with the microfiber. It does kind of catch on to stuff. So you will grab bark, leca in this case. But what I really like is how shiny the leaves are after you wipe them off. And I used to do this with paper towels, and I found that the mycorrhizal, that's why what I keep wanting to say, guys, because I'm so used to saying mycorrhizal fungi. The microfiber cloth does a much better job. It doesn't leave behind that white film that kind of looks like mealies. So I have since switched over. Plus these I can wash and reuse. And when I do wash my microfiber, I do not add any like fabric softener, and then I let them air dry just so that there's no additional chemicals in the water whenever I'm wiping. Y'all know what I mean. I can't talk today. But there it is, and look how shiny those leaves are now. Remember how dull this looked? If I can, I'll get a still from the previous part before I wiped her so you can kind of see the difference between how dull this leaf was. Look how shiny they are now. And that is what the Dove does, I do believe, because it does have a grease cutter in it. That's my opinion, at least. And then I will just give it a nice once over just to make sure that I haven't missed anything. And then on some of them, I did miss a little water droplet there. I will also wipe this part right here and get all the dust off. The reason for wiping your leaves is, of course, the dust will keep it from getting the full light that you're giving, and so that it can photosynthesize better. If you grow in inorganic media and you use a mask, now is also a good time to clean out your mask. I clean my masks once a month. So this one was just cleaned about a week ago, so she's fine. But if you are one of those people who don't clean it once a month and aren't pedantic like I am on certain things, now's a good time to get your mask all cleaned, all that algae buildup out of it. Don't use bleach. I know it disinfects, but it can also break down your pots. Nina over at Ninja Orchids has had to repot a lot of her orchids, not because they've outgrown the pot, but because the pot and the mask are breaking down from the bleach. All right, let's move on to what else I do. So once you've emptied your shelf, so these are all of my summer Phenopsis polychilus type, but I just wanted to show you that leaf is still, it's not quite as shiny, but it's still got that sheen to it, as does the one on the left. And and look at the one on the top, how shiny that is. So it does last for quite a bit, but after I take all the orchids off, then I will take, and I literally will take a little Swiffer duster, and I dust everything just to make sure. And again, I start from the top and work my way down. I even kind of dust the lights just to make sure there's nothing there so that the orchids can get the max. And then on the shelf itself, I push it out so that I am not getting it all over the place. Let me put this somewhere, hold on, there we go. But just wipe everything down, wiping it out. And then from there, I will take a wet cloth that, again, is in an alcohol and Dawn mixture, not the same bowl or pot that I used on the orchid, because this one is going to get a lot dirtier. But do you see how this mycorrhizal, see, there I go again, microfiber kind of is big and bulky, so it just makes it easier for me to clean the orchid leaves with the sections, but it's easier for me to clean the actual shelf with the larger one. Now, if I did not have this, and all this is shelf lining that you can get at your local hardware store. I know some grocery stores sell it. So if this was not on here, I would just be wiping on these. Speaking of, then I will go through and I will wipe off everything here, including my lights, again, just to make sure that my girls are getting the maximum amount of light. Now, in the winter time, I will probably do this. If I'm being truthful, guys, I will probably do this every other month. So it probably only gets done once or twice during the winter. Now we're going to do something that a lot of people struggle with, and there is a big controversy on do it, don't do it, it's not good for it, it is good for it. Personally, I cut my orchid spikes at the end of March, even if they are still looking lovely like our black spot here. She's got 3 more buds coming, but I have found in my experience, and if you have a different experience, please leave it in the comments below, that cutting the spikes actually induces more vegetative growth. A lot of people have asked How do I get so many leaves on my Phalaenopsis? This is one of the ways, because they are not concentrating on trying to keep a spike going and doing leaf growth and root growth. Although my soft clouds will probably push out another spike in the next few weeks, I will cut this one. And then we're gonna go ahead and cut our beautiful lady here, No ID Rescue from the Orchid Supply Store. And while I finish cutting these off, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you'd like to watch these ladies grow this season. And I'm not sanitizing in between the cuts because none of these have any issues that I'm aware of other than this one that has suspected spider mites. So anytime I do anything with this set right here, I use everything sanitized. Go wash my hands before I touch anything else and sanitize. I'm going to cut both of the spikes off of our Chia Yinlin here. And I like to cut as close to the base as possible so that she doesn't try to push out a branch. And I will usually put my finger in front of the leaf just to keep from getting into the leaf and making any damage. Let's cut this last one off of Harlequin, which she's lost all her flowers. There we go. Now, let's see. Did I miss any? On this one here, so this is the Foul She Fang Savory Orange. She's actually a polychilous mixture, so she's more of a summer bloomer anyway. We're gonna allow that spike right there. Well, maybe you can see, there it goes. The spike right there. I'm gonna allow it to go ahead and grow and bloom. Our No ID Phalaenopsis right here, one of our November ones, she is working on a spike. I'm going to let it bloom out just long enough for us to see what she looks like, and then that spike will get cut as well. If you're wondering why I'm not cutting this one here. Now let's go cut the one that's gonna hurt the most. Here she is, Phalaenopsis Cleopatra, AKA Yin Yang. Look at that beautiful cluster of blooms. I mean, she is still going nice and strong. And if I believe, yeah, she's trying to work on another bud right there. Right, well, if I can get it into focus, right there. However, I do want some more of these big juicy leaves. In the next few weeks, I am going to be redoing her media because she's been in this media for 3 years. So it is time to change it out. I'm not going to take her out of the basket. I'm just going to take all of this media out and replace it. So this is the one that's going to hurt me the most, simply because she's still in super active growth. So I'm trying to show you guys kind of where I cut. About right here, and I do want to catch her, so, well, I did not. Boom, there she is. So something else that I will do is take inventory of media that I have and don't have, any pots, the sizes that I have, kind of make a list of things that I'll need, as well as reorganize this. It's not as bad as it was this time last year, so I'm pretty proud of myself. And then I have my birdseed ready to go, and then that's more birdseed on top. That is some squirrel food because I do feed the squirrels year round, and then I always keep one right there to remind me to check it. I only have one. I have about 2 or 3 little squirrels that like to hang around during the winter time. Now, taking inventory is something that I would normally do before spring, but this year I'm a little behind the curve. And the last 2 things, maybe 3 things, maybe 4, who knows. I do increase my watering. I do increase my fertilizer. I do it gradually. I know some growers go from low fertilizer to super high fertilizer at the beginning as soon as they see that new growth. I do it gradually. The fertilizer that I like to use is this one here by Repot Me. And no sponsorship of any kind. I've been using it for years and years and years. A jar like this, and I have a little over 200 orchids, maybe 250. I've had this now for almost a year. I use very little of this. A little of this goes a long way. And if you leave the little silica packet in there, it doesn't get that dampness to it. Like you can see, it's starting right there. But that's because I've been opening this one instead of putting it in a separate container as I normally do. And light, I do increase the lighting. Again, I do it gradually. We'll increase by an hour every week until the end of April. And by that time, everyone will be at either 14 or 16 hours, depending on who they are. For instance, the Cattleyas will get 16 hours as opposed to these guys get 14. So it just depends on the type of orchid it is, will determine what kind of light it will receive. Again, guys, leave in the comments what you do to get ready for spring and what changes in your routine during the growing season. And we'll see you next time. And most importantly, if you stay till the end, you get this little bonus tip. In February, will give everyone a good dose of CalMag, anywhere between 200 and 250 parts per million. And then in March, at the end of March, about 6 weeks later, I will give them 200, 250 parts per million of calcium nitrate to get everybody up, running, and going.